Hey you, little dwarf. Guess what? You are now part of Frogger Productions. Hello everybody, and welcome to the world of Warcraft. Now, I'm going to start off by taking a look at each of the different classes, as well as some of the different races. This is more of an introduction video to help you as you begin your WoW journey. Now, starting off, we're going to go with one of the most basic classes, the Warrior. Now, the Warriors are all about going up to your face and dealing damage as quickly as possible. There are several different kinds of warriors. First off, for damaging warriors, you have the warriors that'll use two-handed weapons, such as this giant axe, which you're seeing now. In addition, there are warriors who can dual-wield one-handed weapons, so you'll have a warrior using two one-handed swords. As well, there is a warrior who can use two-handed weapons, so you'll have a giant axe in each hand, essentially. And then you also have a warrior who uses a sword and shield. Those are called tanks. Their objective is to keep enemies off of you. Very helpful when you're raiding. Next up, we have the Paladin. Now, the Paladin has a variety of uses. Their first, and probably one of the favorite Paladin classes, is the tanking class. Very similar to humans. They're very similar to warriors when they tank. However, I find that they're a little bit better at basically taking enemies, like groups of enemies, whereas the warriors, I see, have a better tendency to focus one-on-one. Now next, you have their damage. They use two-handed weapons, and with a variety of holy magic and smashing your face, they're a pretty decent damage as well. And finally, they are healers. Basically, any damage that you take, they can give you your health back. Very useful. Next, we have the Hunters. Now, Hunters are unique in the fact that they start off with pets. For instance, this troll starts off with a Velociraptor. Yeah, they have dinosaurs. They're pretty awesome. In addition, they can get all sorts of animal companions from throughout the entire world, basically. Whether it be boars, tigers, you can even get a lion, bears. Oh my, you can get quite a bit. They specialize in doing damage from a distance, as well as doing massive damage with their pets. Next class we have is the Rogue. They are a stealthy class that is best known for their ability to incapacitate enemies. They have various stuns, disarms. They are a very helpful class to have. In addition to that, they use stealth-based combat. They can turn invisible, and they can go behind and backstab you. Very painful and does a lot of damage. Next up, we have the Priest. Now, priests are known mostly for their healing abilities. They can either heal large groups of people, or they can focus on healing a single person. Either way, they are very, very powerful healers, and if they want to take a break from healing, they also have the ability to deal range damage with magic, called Shadow. They mostly focus on doing damage over time, and they do have a few quick casts as well that will damage you pretty heavily. Next up, we have the Shaman. Now, Shaman are unique in the fact that they get totems. For instance, you see over here, we have a fire totem. Fire totems basically are good for damage. They can even stun enemies. They're pretty good to have. They, Shamans can do damage up close, hence the claws. They can use their spells to kind of get off a few abilities while dual wielding and hitting your face in. They also have the capability to do ranged combat damage. They're really good at AoE, which is area of effect, which is good for taking down multiple opponents at once. They can also heal, although to be honest, I have never been partial to Shaman healing, but there are other people who swear by it. Next up, we have the Mage. Mage focuses solely on doing damage with spells. They have 3 different types they can use. They have Fire, Ice, and Arcane. Fire focuses on doing large amounts of damage very quickly. Ice is mostly used in player versus player scenarios. They can trap enemies, they can slow enemies down. It's awesome. And then you get the Arcane Mages. Now, the Arcane Mages are very unique and can be rather difficult to play, but they do have some of the highest damage for spellcasters. Next up, we have Warlocks. Now, Warlocks are another class that get pets. The difference is Warlocks are limited in the pets they get. They have Voidwalkers, Imps, which is this cute little guy over here, Succubus, Infernals, and another couple that I am just forgetting at this moment. Warlocks generally focus on doing damage over time, which they'll basically sap away at your health slowly, but efficiently. They can also, when they attack you, they can also use several spells to gain their health back. They can be kind of tricky to fight, and they are, once again, another very fun class. Next, we have a class that came out in Mist of Pandaria. It is the newest class added to this list. It is the Monk. Monks, they're very unique. They have a combat system similar to the Rogues, which use energy. They can hit you fast and hard. They can also tank, like, warriors and paladins, only they don't use shields. They can also heal you, which, honestly, their heals are pretty decent. Next up, we have the Druids. Now, the Druids are kind of your do-it-all class. They can either do melee damage in cat form, they can tank in bear form, they can do ranged combat damage, spells and such, as Moonkin, which are giant owls of death, and they can also heal you, and with healing they can turn into trees. Yeah, it's very interesting. And last but not least, we have the Death Knight class, which was added in Wrath of the Lich King. You can only get this class starting at level 55. So you would have to have any of these classes leveled up to 55, and then you get access to the Death Knight. The Death Knight honestly feels kind of like a combination of the Warrior and the Warlock. They do damage over time, as well as a lot of melee damage. They can tank, they can do straight up damage, but as an unholy Death Knight, you also get access to minions. Basically, you can raise zombies from the dead, as well as resurrect allies. It's very useful and a giant pain in the neck to deal with. So now that you know a little bit of each class, you can pick your side. The Alliance, which is made up of human, dwarves, night elves, gnomes, draenei, and worgen. Worgen are basically werewolves. By playing through the beginning questline, you'll kind of get to see how that comes about. It's pretty interesting. On the Horde side of things, you have the Orc, the Undead, the Tauren, the Trolls, the Blood Elves, and the Goblins. Now, despite the blue and red for each faction, there is no good guys and bad guys between them. They're each essentially we'll say their own set of countries. They both believe in what they're fighting for, and honestly, each side has their villains, each side has their heroes. There's a lot of interesting lore. I'd suggest you look into a bit of it. But honestly, picking your side is going to depend heavily on if you know anyone that's playing. Like, I generally stick with Alliance because all my friends that play as Alliance. But you also have someone caught up in the middle, the Pandaren. Now, they have the choice after completing their beginning quest line to choose whether you want to be Alliance or Horde. That decision is permanent. You cannot undo it. You're stuck once you basically make up your mind to choose. Okay, so I think I'm gonna call it for this introduction. Up next, we are going to go through the basics of character creation and get started in the quest lines. That's all for now. Hope to see you in the next video.